Hi, this is Jack Olmstead. I'm with GMO Free News, and today we have a full panel. Melissa Mays. Wait a minute. I've got to get myself on camera. There I am. I'm sorry. I was looking at the timeline, Flint water crisis timeline. Hi, this is Jack Olmstead, GMO Free News. Today we have a full panel. Melissa Mays. She's in Flint, Michigan. Hi, Melissa. How's it going?
Hi. Wonderful. Thank you.
LeeAnne Walters. She's in Virginia, someplace. How's it going, LeeAnne?
It's going okay.
And our special guest is Allison Ann MacArthur-Ruesink. Ruesink. I know I was messing up. And Allison, she used to work with the MDEQ for 30 years, 1983 to 2010. So she has a lot of experience of working with the agency that is responsible for the Flint water crisis. But before we get to that, what did you think of the news today, or the news for the last week, Melissa and LeeAnne?
Hooray, it's about time. A couple things made me laugh. What Michael Moore put out made me laugh. What Cher put out made me laugh. That was over the past couple days. But seeing how the rest of the world was viewing our crisis and that they're actually grasping the severity of the situation, it was nice. That was wonderful to see, so that the larger networks are actually delving into this and finally catching up with the rest of the world, like you, Jack, that this is bad here. So hopefully it'll be added pressure for the now president to do what's needed to get us moving forward.
Well, we had MSNBC do some extensive coverage. What did you think of Rachel Maddow and her coverage?
She's my new favorite person. Like,
really?
Period. Yeah, the way she covers it, and she shows how angry she is and how well you can tell she's researched the subject of emergency management and water treatment and the mistakes that were made and the oversights and the cover-ups. And the fact that she has no issue getting out there yelling and screaming about how this was done on purpose and how she feels that, you know, our governor should be jailed for this, as well as a slew of other people. I thank her for being a fighter for us. I think that, you know, I'm glad she grabbed onto this, and I'm glad that she's tearing at it as strong as she is.
Right. How about you, LeeAnne?
A few things. First of all, I want to point out that my opinion is that Governor Snyder would not have signed anything had it not been put out about the federal investigation. I don't think it would have been as swiftly and as quickly as it was. I think that put his back to the wall on that, and the fact that people are now trying to make him out to be some kind of hero because he signed it is not okay. He is no hero in this at all whatsoever. And so with the news that came out today, that just kind of confirms it even more, that, you know, he is responsible for what has happened with us. Am I happy that it's done? Yes, I'm happy that it's finally been declared. We'll be happier once it goes to the president and it's signed fully to get the help that's needed. But I don't want people walking away from this thinking that Snyder's this great guy who, you know, is helping the citizens, because that's not been the case.
Well,
it was under his emergency manager law that this happened, that we're talking about, right, this crisis.
And see, that's what you see a lot of on, like, that was a lot of the dispute today on, like, the Cher comment that was online today, was that it's not Snyder's fault. The citizens of Flint made this decision. The city council made this decision. The mayor made this decision. That is not true. We've been under emergency manager since 2011. Emergency manager reports directly to Snyder. So how is that the citizens, city council, or anybody making that decision when ultimately, you know, he gets the say-so over everything and Snyder can yay or nay it?
Well, one thing that a lot of people are ignoring is that even your own public works department relies on the MDEQ to be the experts and give them guidance. The MDEQ offers the classes and the certification for those people, even to hold their jobs. So why was a person in charge of oversight of a large city's drinking water like that, LeeAnne Schechter-Smith, who clearly wasn't qualified? I mean, anybody can read the federal regs and tell you which rules you follow, and you don't need to be a genius to do it, but you do have to care about doing the right thing. And she got her position by being a member of the MDEQ Hot Tub Club, which is a group of people that promote and self-promote each other up through the ranks when they've done nothing exceptional.
So tell us about your experience. You give us an idea of your background as a microbiologist.
My microbiology and public health degree with a minor in chemistry is from Michigan State University. I worked at Michigan State University throughout most of college in the laboratories there, so I had quite a bit of lab experience. My first job out of college for MSU was recombinant DNA research. And, you know, I worked for 2 PhDs. I did all the basic work for them. I was laid off when both the PhDs left MSU for actual teaching jobs at a big university. Big universities, there were different ones. And that was like 83, 84, 83. And we were in the middle of the wonderful recession, which was caused by NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which sent most of our auto jobs to Mexico and other places. And I was unemployed for about a year, and then I got an entry-level job at Michigan Department of Public Health doing neonatal testing for like phenylketonuria, cystic fibrosis, that sort of thing, and then I worked my way up. I started out at $6.35 an hour, and I worked my way up. Nobody just handed it to me because I was some rich person's daughter. And that's how things work at the MDEQ.
So you had a college degree, microbiology, chemistry, and you started at $6.35 an hour? I
started out as a lab assistant, and I already had quite a bit of experience at MSU. But, you know, you get your foot in the door.
So how long did it take for you to rise up through the ranks?
I was with public health about a year and a half, and then I job hopped over to Department of Natural Resources, which the environmental programs were in with the natural resources programs. It was all one agency then. And I went through about one promotion a year till I got to the professional levels, which was resource specialist. I handled Clean Water Act grants for actually quite a few places in Michigan, including the city of Flushing from 1985 to 1989. And then after that, I was out in the districts doing industrial inspections of steel plants, Enrico Fermi nuclear power plant, large quarries. So I've done a little bit of everything.
Was that primarily with water?
That was Clean Water Act money, yes.
Do you guys have anything you'd like to ask Allison? I mean, I can keep going.
Well, no, just this has got to be, watching all this unfold for somebody with your background and experience, this has got to seem like a complete nightmare to you, especially with the water and everything that got completely overlooked as for proper treatment and testing and monitoring.
Well, actually, I do have a question.
Okay.
One of the things that has been getting pointed out is how the DEQ presents themselves and deals with the public. I mean, I've never dealt with the DEQ prior to all this. Is this how it's always been? With the dismissal and the ridicule and not wanting to do what they're putting in a position to do. I mean, basically, they're there to protect us, and they're getting paid. You had one job.
Right.
And you just poisoned an entire city and lied about it and covered it up, and your answer was to treat us terrible.
Well, I'll tell you, the culture of corruption in the DEQ is not new. I brought up problems with them handing out civil service jobs to friends and family back when Governor Grandholm was our governor and Stephen Chester was a director. I sent Jack quite a few of the emails between me and various people about those complaints, because those are violations of the Michigan Constitution. And it puts people beholden to whoever hired them instead of the people of Michigan. And I've always maintained that I work for the people of Michigan, not a supervisor. And a lot of the older employees like myself and another employee from my immediate unit who was also harassed into retirement by John Russell, Tom Taranjo, he had very high ethics and followed the law. Well, he got drawn on the carpet more than once because he was actually following the law. And one of the places he was enforcing against belonged to Senator Pastor, who called our bosses and said, "Get this guy to back off." So they literally didn't want him to enforce the law, but Attorney General Mike Cox had already gotten wind of it and did follow up on it. But Tom left. He was sick of being constantly harassed by John.
So this is the norm then?
It is the norm.
To treat the citizens like crap?
We aren't important.
Not everybody does it, but of course you're probably somewhat familiar with the Sierra Club getting involved with Michigan DEQ not enforcing the Clean Water Act with these mega dairy farms. They were flushing the manure into the creeks, and Lynn Henning, who was a winner of a Goldman Award, and Aaron Brockovich got involved, and they had the Sierra Club literally doing the jobs that the DEQ was hired to do, only they would ignore it.
I'm not saying everybody in the DEQ, but I can say from my own personal experience, and I think Melissa can back me up on this, everybody so far that we have encountered has treated us like this. I can't think of one person that hasn't.
No.
And that's really sad because you're our bosses. I mean, we're supposed to be protecting the public health. You know, yeah, and there's some of my emails back and forth. They pretty much try to sideline anybody who doesn't, you know, goose step with them and do whatever the people pulling the strings. The thing about, you know, the director being an appointee of the governor is, you know, who gets the governor in? Lobbyists, people with a lot of money, industry like mega farms, and then these elected officials have direct oversight on whether the DEQ gets funded for the year or not, and they go through this funding cycle every year. So it's, you know, pay to play. And exactly, because the civil service is not supposed to be part of the political handouts that, you know, they used to be back, you know, back in New York, Tammany Hall and all that stuff. You know, you don't make anybody an inspector. You're supposed to have the education and take civil service exams before you're even interviewed. But I'd say they were probably treating you like crap because they got caught.
Oh, no, they were treating us like crap before that.
Oh, really? Shame on them.
From the minute we started asking questions, that's when that started. So we just assumed that's how they were. And LeeAnne's right. Every single one that we've talked to, face-to-face, emails, phone calls, it doesn't matter. Anybody that's tried to contact the MDEQ, it's just been awful because they give you no answers. They talk to you like you're stupid. Brad Wurfel laughed at us, so to our faces. So yeah, there's not a one that we've had to deal with had any kind of concern for the citizens. And so we just were curious if that was their culture, if that's the way that it normally goes.
Middle level management are pretty self-serving.
Jim Saigo is not proving to be a whole lot different either.
He's part of the old entrenched hot tub club. He doesn't look like it anymore, but he's part of the old school. He does what he wants.
The answers, when I'm asking questions, the answers that I'm receiving are basically blow-off answers.
Right. Well, they do that to educated citizens, you know, or they would do that to me too. You know, hey, I can read a contract. I can see what's in the law. Don't tell me that I can't read it the way it's written, you know. But they'll just blow you off, and they think you're going to go away when you get frustrated. And I guess you two are made of tougher stuff than that.
Yeah, we are.
They picked the wrong person to fight with, right?
We didn't go away. We just got more annoying.
I know.
Well, I mean,
I'm kind of like that.
technically, you can kind of thank Mike Prisby for the way he treated me at the Dome meeting, him and Ambrose, because that's what really ticked me off and said enough's enough, and we're going to figure this out because you're not going to call me a liar and stupid in a public meeting.
Well, it's like with the mega farms, they treated Lynn Henning like an idiot farmer's wife. I mean, they were a small-time farmer, but, you know, she refused to go away, you know, and if she couldn't get any satisfaction from the DEQ, she taught herself how to do the sampling and got the Sierra Club involved.
Sound familiar?
Yeah. Jeez. Well, it was funny because we watched videos of when we first spoke to City Council, and that was one of the things I had said was, okay, fine, we will just get, you know, the citizens together ourselves and do it ourselves. And that's exactly what we did. That is 100% what we did, and we still haven't stopped because at this point, we still have to get people water and filters because, again, relying on anybody else has not proven fruitful for us.
Well, and you wonder why someone like Leanne Schechter-Smith is making upwards of $90,000 a year.
And why she's still at her job, and scarier yet, dealing with all the FOIA information. Obviously, she had a problem with being honest and getting information out in a proper fashion, so now they put her in charge of all the FOIA requests, so she gets to choose who gets what information. She's still there. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me.
She's part of the club. They protect their own.
Allison, can you talk about the FOIA request?
The FOIA requests?
Yes.
Well, I can tell you straight out that if you've gotten some good information from your FOIAs, you're very fortunate, because at the water quality training, our Barry Selden, who's in charge of the enforcement unit, literally told the staff, don't put anything in writing. Pick up a phone and call so there's no written documentation.
When was this?
I think it was 2006 or 7. But he's still there and he's still doing the same thing.
Well, and that's been my question, that we've had, there's been damning evidence that's come out of those FOIA requests. So imagine what's actually still hidden. And imagine what those phone calls sounded like. So I can't even imagine that.
There's probably a whole nother layer of complexity that's, you know, been hidden from you. I mean, because when we get a FOIA request, when I worked for them, you know, we'd get out the whole stack of file, and you actually kind of need to know what you're asking for before anybody goes and digs the files out. And then we go through the files to make sure there's no, like if it was an industrial site, any, protected information about their products and things. But it'd be so easy to just leave a page out and then hand the file to the secretary and say, okay, this is what you need to copy.
Okay, so you keep talking about the hot tub club.
Yep.
And I don't know if you can answer this question or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The people that have resigned to date, were they also included in the hot tub club?
The director?
Yes, Dan Wyant.
Well, Dan Wyant was a newcomer, essentially, but the same thing with Steve Chester. He was made fully aware of the culture of corruption, and he was a lawyer, too, so he should have known that these people shouldn't be violating civil service hiring. And they're the very people, the middle and upper management, that the new directors rely on. So they just buy into it, and they socialize with each other, and they give each other promotions and awards. It's kind of like mutual masturbation almost. That's what they do for each other.
Well, anything you got to do to keep your job?
I guess so.
I'll pass.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to use that word, but that's what comes to mind. It's like they nominate each other for awards, and then they give each other awards. When I won the 2004 Pollution Prevention Award for getting a Armour Swift Eckrich in Quincy, Michigan, to stop dumping tons and tons of brine in a little creek, my boss says, oh, it wasn't exceptional. Well, the people that were the inspectors before, and Pete Ostland, who also wrote the permit, oh, Brian, we'll take it out of your permit. We'll just call it an uncontrollable source. Go do a study. Well, after 10 years of studies, I was in charge of this facility, and I said, wait a minute. You're pickling the creek. You can't do that. It's not an uncontrollable source. Just don't put it in the creek. And they came up with a very elegant solution, I mean, after they were pressured into it, of pasteurizing the brine and reusing it. Yeah, they didn't need to pickle the creek. They saved money by doing the right thing. Well, other companies would save money by doing the right thing, too. They're just too lazy. Oh, anyways, I was nominated by a friend from another division, and I won the statewide award.
That's how you get around it.
Yeah. Oh, that's why John Russell really hated my guts. I also went around him to get my promotion.
You learn how to navigate through that mess.
Well, he wasn't going to give me my promotion because I brought up all the illegal hiring with the executive office. And I wasn't even asking to have anyone fired. I was just asking for it to be corrected. Well, that's when the harassment started in earnest. And so he wouldn't give me my promotion, so I had a desk audit by Department of Civil Service, and I said, oh, you should have been a 12 10 years ago. I said, I know. So, you know, they try to obstruct anybody who doesn't kiss their ass.
So that's just pretty much the playbook then. I mean,
it is the playbook, and it's been going on, I would say, definitely since Engler was in office. He really stacked the deck with the middle management and upper management with his buddies. You know, we'll give business anything they want. And that's how it's been ever since.
So if you ruffle the feathers, they try and chop you off at the neck.
Exactly. And I talked to a reporter a couple months ago, Keith Matheny. I think he's with the Free Press. Anyways, he didn't do a story about it, but he's like, well, I've noticed anytime you have a run-in with them, what they try to do is, you know, malign you and ruin your life, even if it was just a small infraction of speaking the truth or something like that. And that's what the DEQ tried to do, you know, with this thing. Oh, these people are crazy. There's no problem with their water. They're crazy. They go on the attack.
That they did. They put
So-
more effort into attacking anybody who stood up than they did actually fixing the problem. They put
They
more.
should have started fixing the problem as soon as you brought it to their attention.
No, I have to disagree. They put equal efforts into attacking and trying to hide and cover it up.
Okay, we're corrected.
Rather than doing what they were supposed to do. Let's not leave that part out. I mean,
They use their corporate emails to talk about covering this up, and to me, I'm like, at the time, it's 2015. Who's that stupid? Oh, they are. Okay.
Well-
all right, and they're in charge of our water.
And the thing is now, especially with the internet, people, even if you don't have a lot of expertise in any given area, you can start researching it and teach yourself a lot. And
Yeah.
you two have been on a steep learning curve on that, and you know that. So if you've got a brain in your head and a desire to learn, it's all out there if you want it. So,
well, see, like this is
That's
what I
what-
mean about like Jim Saigo is I was asking questions about the blending of the Flint River with the KWA once new water source comes on.
mhm.
And he told me that he does not believe that that's something that the DEQ regulates.
Of course they do.
I'm telling you the answer I got to a very specific.
Well, what they regulate is the end product. They regulate what source you're using in the end product. Well, what's the combination of that? Blending.
I'm still waiting for clarification as to how they don't regulate that. And you're in charge of our water now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they think this is a third world country where their little dictators can keep getting away with this garbage and walk away. But stubborn women like you are making their jobs harder to be corrupt at.
Allison, do you think because of the resignations that we've seen, will there be any change within the agency?
Absolutely not. The director of the DNR that was appointed to be the DEQ's director, he's making like $170,000 a year or something. He's got a bachelor's degree. I mean, I looked at his qualifications on LinkedIn and I'm going, how the hell did he become director? You know, I mean, and what makes you think he's going to change the culture that's so entrenched? He's just trying to make it look good for Snyder. He's appointed by Snyder just like Dan Wyant was.
So what do you think? What's the MO? What do you think he's going to do? Just be a figurehead? Everything's okay?
Exactly. Nothing's going to change. I hope a federal investigation brings out just how much corruption there is in the agency. It permeates all levels of Michigan government, and it's
where should they look first for the corruption within the agency?
they could start with how people are hired in the first place. I mean,
now you worked there. You had a degree, microbiology, chemistry. Were your colleagues, the people that you worked with, did they have similar degrees? Were they qualified for their jobs? The people that got promoted over you, were they qualified for those promotions? Can you talk about that?
no, actually, and I caused a big stink when a girl. Are we on the air, or is it just us three?
Yeah,
No,
we're on
we're
the
on the
air.
air.
We're
Okay.
streaming live. It's all being recorded.
Okay, well, a very young, pretty blonde from the Jackson office was promoted to be an acting supervisor of the drinking water programs. And then when they finally did the interviews for, I think it was for assistant acting supervisor or something, there was a lot of really good people who interviewed. Well, it came out with people like, you know, they have a panel of like 5 people interviewing you and what questions they asked, and then they'll just put respond. Was your response good, fair, poor, excellent? Or were your qualifications good, fair, poor, excellent? Well, this girl was given an excellent for her business background. Her business background was being a receptionist at a hairstyling salon. This is her extensive business background, a business salon, hair salon in Ann Arbor. And then myself, who had put on presentations to the Binational PAC Committee for the Great Lakes between the U.S. and Canada, they put me as poor. You know, and I had put together slideshows and been on work task force, and there were other people that were, you know, probably better qualified than me, but this girl was the least qualified. And after several years of me trying to FOIA the actual interview stuff, it turned, I discovered, you know, they were grading people, you know, excellent for ordering hairspray, and people with extensive experience as fair or poor for business acumen and experience. And this girl did make it to being a supervisor, and then she finally left when all this got exposed.
That is insane.
It's the same thing with LeeAnne Schechter-Smith. It's the same group of people.
I really don't like that lady.
Kind of makes you wonder.
It doesn't make me wonder. I know who she is. I've met her in person. Nasty lady.
On the payroll making big bucks, and her decisions are hurting people.
Oh, believe me, I know firsthand with the way she acted like we were diseased. She wouldn't even take anything we were handing her. Missing everything that we were saying to her. She was the one that told me that Miguel from the EPA had been handled and that there would not be a final report after the interim report. And I just smiled and said, well, I guess we'll see, won't we?
Well, it's just amazing that she's still at the agency with such gross misconduct. And then you look at what happened to me. I was actually doing a very valid inspection, and the woman's kind of a nutcase, which I found out more or less afterwards. But John Russell just latched onto that, and I mean, he was going to her house, writing complaint letters for her, or typing them up for her. He was harassing people at my church. Tell us what you know about Allison. And they didn't have anything bad to say about me. But I mean, he snowballed into this bullshit about me stalking this woman. I had never met her.
That's insane.
It's really crazy, and what's crazier is it wasn't stopped above him, but Pete Ostland is just as bad. And guess what? John Russell got a promotion. He's working directly for Pete Ostland now. He got another promotion. He's up in Lansing working for his buddy Pete.
Big.
So it's pretty crazy, but.
What sort of things would have to be done for change to happen at the agency?
I'd get rid of an awful lot. You know, they tried to streamline the agency a number of years ago and get rid of all the middle management because it was just too top-heavy, and it had to go through so many layers. And little by little, the bureaucrats would create more interim level jobs for their buddies to be promoted to, and it's back to the same way it used to be. And as long as they're getting away with it, and civil service didn't even put up a fuss about them violating civil service hiring laws. They did absolutely nothing about it.
the investigation, that will be the federal investigation. That's where we'll get the change there.
Well, one of the girls that's still there, and she's very nice. She was hired in 2000 because her father was best friends with our supervisor. He held the job vacant for 6 months so she could actually graduate. So I've actually got a list of the people who wanted to interview for the job, and there were several with master's degrees who were minorities and weren't even given the opportunity to interview. So I call it welfare for the well-connected. This kid steps right out of college into a professional level job, having never worked in labs or done any field work before.
So today, Governor Snyder met with Mayor Weaver, and they're talking about going to Washington, D.C. and ask the president for like $1.5 billion to improve the infrastructure to help people. Will the MDEQ get a piece of that money if it is approved by the government? And if so, is that the best place for that money to go into this corrupt agency?
There's no way around it if you're going to upgrade the infrastructure, because all the new water treatment, the service leads, pipes, will all have to be reviewed by engineers at the MDEQ before they're given permits to install those things.
Oh Jesus! No, we really got to get Mike Prisby out of there.
Yeah, I mean, so it will just balloon, and even if they're not making as many decisions in the money, their friends that are in the private consulting firms are going to get on board doing all this designing and putting together plans too. It'll be a big, money maker for the environmental engineering companies in the area and the DEQ. So
really the grassroots, they do all this work, they push, they discover the problem, which the MDEQ created basically. They're going to get this big windfall of money, and basically that's going to come back to benefit MDEQ.
If they're going to upgrade all that infrastructure, there's going to be, a lot of hiring, a lot of promoting, a lot of people reviewing plans and such, and issuing permits. So yeah, they're actually going to get rewarded for this.
It's going to be a big feather in their cap. They can build another building because they're going to need to hire more people. We finally did the right thing.
Hopefully in the short term, because with the investigation going on, I'm hoping that's enough to where it will just be short term. There needs to be, we need to figure out a check and balance system for accountability to the people after what they've done. That's what it boils down to.
There's a check and balance system which has been totally ignored. And when
I'm not talking, I'm talking about grassroots citizens check and balance system. If this kind of money is approved, to show that this money is being used properly, legitimately, cost efficiently, to make sure that what needs to get done is being done.
Well, in my experience,
in the right way.
Even if you do get special panels of people to review some of these decisions, it's still going to be a big windfall for the environmental, engineers in the area, and the common citizens' opinions are going to get pushed to the sidelines again.
It's going to be business as usual.
It'll be business as usual, only more of the business.
more of the business, because the money will be flowing.
Oh, the money will be flowing. It's like when the Clean Water Act put money into constructing wastewater treatment plants. That was the first program. I wrote environmental assessments, and I was a construction project manager. We were given 80% grants to small communities to upgrade their wastewater treatment systems. The drinking water, it's the same, level of oversight, and they're going to have to hire people to do the work.
What's the way around it? Is there a way around it so that the money doesn't go into this corrupt bureaucracy?
Not unless you abolish Michigan government and start from scratch, which might not be a bad idea.
Do the feds have any pressures that they can put on the agency?
Actually, let me take that back. The feds could revoke Michigan's delegation agreements. The EPA could revoke Michigan's delegation agreements to handle the Clean Water Act and the Safe Drinking Water Act and take it over for themselves.
So the EPA could basically monitor the infrastructure, the new infrastructure, directly.
With getting rid of Michigan's DEQ. Because the way it currently is most states have delegation from the Environmental Protection Agency to handle their own Clean Water Act programs. The federal government can revoke that, and I believe it's the same thing for the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah, they're all just keeping their territory going.
Okay, but with the people that are in charge of the Flint Task Force right now from the EPA, if they were to be in charge of helping with the infrastructure issues and all of that, I would feel okay with that.
Yeah, because at least, you know, they're an outside party. And I would think at least Michigan politicians and you know, the entrenched corrupt civil service wouldn't have the input anymore.
Do you have any advice, Allison, for the grassroots, volunteers, water warriors, as they like to be called, at this point in time, knowing what you know about the situation?
My advice would be to talk with the environmentally concerned citizens of South Central Michigan, Lynn Henning's group, who got the Sierra Club involved. She's got a temperament very much like you two ladies, and that things weren't being done right, and she was being dismissed as a crazy. And she stuck to her guns. And the problem's not cleaned up yet, but it's come a whole long way. So stick to your guns and go over the DEQ's head.
And going over their head is EPA.
Correct.
Do you have any friends, any connections at the EPA? Because they are not a reliable source. They'll study a project for 10 years before they make a decision, and then they'll say, we got to do more studies. They'll never make a decision.
Well, I would think since they already know what the problem is here, they'll do some studies, but I mean, getting the lead out is pretty simple endpoint. You got to say at least a lot of the people in the EPA have advanced degrees and are truly experts in their areas, whereas, you know, at the DEQ, we've got a PhD working for a guy who just has a bachelor's degree, and that's one of the people that was harassed mercilessly, too. And he's got a PhD, and he's working for, you know, a guy much younger than him with just a bachelor degree from a mediocre college. So I would be more at ease having the feds take over the programs, because you've seen what the state's done with it.
It's something worth pursuing and looking into and reaching out and getting some information about.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my 2 bets. You know, I'm not an expert. I guess I'm a survivor.
You are a survivor. when you
I
left
am. You saw my letters.
when you left MDEQ, you were unemployed for a year?
I was unemployed for a little over a year, and I really thought the arbitration would award me back wages and my job. I mean, because they absolutely proved nothing. It was just, you know, John cheering on this crazy person, and, you know, it's just pretty amazing because there's no conflict of interest in any way, shape, or form. This farm that's doing between 150,000 and 250,000 in commercial animal care is supposed to have a permit. And I saw an advertisement that they were having children's camps and running all these public, you know, rodeos and food concessions and everything, and so I went to do an inspection. I had a very legitimate reason to be there. So it's just crazy the way I was treated, but we know John's motivation was just to, you know, don't get mad, get even.
And you're now employed.
Yeah, I saw a local ad at one of those temp agencies, Lab Tech wanted, and I just went, well, I'm not doing anything with my time. I could do that. And after working as a temp for 6 months, the company liked me and hired me full time. So I'm working for a very nice supervisor who's actually intelligent, honest, and hardworking.
Wow.
So, a far cry from John Russell. I'm not making as much money, but it's like, oh well.
Oh, I'm sorry that, you know, what's been done to you has been done to you because of what they are.
Know, to add extra salt to the wound, John Russell pulled this 65 days before my 55th birthday when I could have collected my full retirement. 65 days. They've denied my retirement till I turned 60. That's like $150,000.
Wow.
And you didn't get anything from when you went to court?
Nope. The Attorney General's representatives that were defending John lied. You know, they said things weren't filed in a timely manner, citing the Michigan Department of Civil Rights Commission when I was filing in circuit court for a wrongful dismissal. It's two entirely different agencies. One's courts, one's an agency. And of course, the judge from Jackson County, Judge Wilson, used to work for the Attorney General's office. I don't have the money to file an appeal, and when you file an appeal, even if the higher court upholds it, they send it right back to the same judge who kicked you out.
Jeez.
It's a real scam the way our courts work. You know, I'm glad they didn't accuse me of murder because I would have gone to jail for it whether I did it or not. And that happens a lot too. Michigan's got a real high incarceration rate, and then they get you in there and they feed you crap from Aramark.
Yikes.
Yeah, another friend of Snyder's.
You think you could get better friends.
Yeah, really. Anyways, I don't have anything further to add tonight. I'm definitely going to attend the January 18th Fire Snyder rally. I'm not going to attend the one tomorrow in Flint. I'm having car problems, and a friend offered a ride share with me, but I'd have to go all the way over to Plymouth to get a ride. So that's not good with my car's front end giving me problems. My son's going to look at it this weekend.
Well, good luck with that, because we have the same issue with two of our trucks deciding
Wow.
they don't want to run.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, this car that I've got, I had given up my truck so I could finish paying off some debts that incurred during my divorce. So I thought, well, I'll have a couple months without a truck payment, and I'll get everybody paid up, all my hay suppliers, stuff like that. And then John fired me. Well, you can't get a loan for a vehicle without a car or without a job.
Yep.
My pastor and his wife had an extra car in their garage because their son had moved to the West Coast. And they stood by me, and they're just like, well, I paid them $100 a month for a while, and then they were promoted and went up to Gwynn, Michigan. And they said, no, you know what? Consider it a Jubilee year. The car's yours.
That's awesome.
Yeah, these people are the best. Reverend Fike and his wife are just the nicest people in the world. And they gave me a car. So there's good people out there. Too bad you have to dig through some of the rubble to find them.
That is true.
Rubble, are you kidding me? Fallen buildings. Jeez.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I enjoy talking to you ladies.
Okay, so...
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome to friend me on Facebook and just, like, instant message me questions, if you want just my personal input.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, for organizing all this.
Thanks, Allison. Thanks. You guys want to talk about anything else, or are we going to put this to bed? It's pretty late where you're at.
It's pretty late for me.
I see.
I got to get up at 6:30.
All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.